Hey there, I'm Mike. The kitchen smells of burnt coffee. I stare at the chipped mug in my hand, the rim pressing into my thumb. Mary's voice cuts through the quiet. What about Greg? She says, leaning against the counter with a smirk. Her hair's still damp, sticking to her collarbone. You've seen how he looks at me. Bet he'd be up for it. I force a chuckle. Greg's married. And has kids. Doesn't mean he's dead inside. The words hang in the air, louder than they should be. I sip the bitter coffee, swallowing too hard. It's not the first time she's joked like this, but it feels different tonight. He's your friend, I say evenly. We're not going there. She waves it off. Relax, Mike. I'm kidding. It doesn't feel like a joke. I rinse the mug, the sound of water filling the sink louder than it should be. These comments, about her gym buddy's arms, the guy at the bar, have been coming more often. Always wrapped in laughter. Easy to ignore. You're quiet, she says, stepping closer. Her hand brushes my arm. Long day, I reply. Half true. Her eyes search my face, but she doesn't push. Later, we're on the couch. She's scrolling her phone, laughing softly at something. The TV drones on about climate change, but my mind's stuck on the kitchen. Her tone. The way she lingered. Hey, she says, setting her phone down. Her bare feet tuck under her. Can I ask you something? I glance over. What's up? She hesitates. Have you ever thought about us, trying something different? My chest tightens. Different how? She picks at a loose thread on the cushion. Like opening things up. Seeing other people. The air shifts, sharp and thin. My pulse thunders. Mary, I say, my voice firmer than I expect. Where is this coming from? Her gaze drops, then lifts again. I've been thinking about it. We're great, Mike. Really great. But don't you ever wonder if there's more? More experiences? I sit frozen. The couch feels too small. More experiences. I repeat, each syllable foreign. She nods, her face earnest. It wouldn't change us. You're still my person. But maybe we don't have to limit ourselves. The words hit like a slap. My hands clench, nails pressing into my palms. I need a second, I mutter, standing. Her voice follows me. Mike, wait. It's not a big deal. People do this all the time. Not people like us. I snap, grabbing my phone off the counter. My hands tremble as I fumble for the voice recorder. What are you doing? Recording this, I say, my voice tight. I need to hear it later. To make sure I'm not crazy. Her eyes widen. Crazy? Mike, it's just a conversation. I thought you'd at least be open to it. My laugh is hollow. How am I supposed to be open to this after 4 years? Her jaw tightens. I didn't mean to blindside you. I thought we could talk about it, that's all. Talk about what? I demand, holding the phone up. Say it again. For the record. She crosses her arms. I think we should open the relationship. For us. For our future. The words echo, heavy and sharp. I stop the recording and set the phone down. This isn't something you drop in the middle of a random Tuesday, I say, my voice cracking. Her eyes glisten, but she blinks fast. I didn't mean to hurt you. Too late. The crack's already there, widening with every word. By the time I hit record, the coffee has gone cold, and the clock ticks past 8:30. Mary sits across from me at the kitchen table, legs crossed, her fingers tracing the edge of her phone case. She doesn't look at me right away, which is probably for the best. I don't trust my face to stay neutral. Let's start over, I say, setting the phone between us. You want to open the relationship. Why? She shifts in her chair. I don't know if it's a want. It's more like curiosity. Curiosity, I echo. My tone is flat, but I lean forward, elbows on the table. Curiosity about what? Her fingers stop moving. About other connections. Different kinds of intimacy. It feels like a rehearsed answer. Too neat. Too broad. So, what does that mean? I ask. Are we talking strangers? Someone specific? She shakes her head quickly. No, no one specific. Okay, I say carefully, trying to keep the edge out of my voice. Then what's driving this? She hesitates, eyes darting to the recorder. This is weird, she says, a nervous laugh escaping. You recording me like I'm on trial. It's for clarity, I reply, refusing to let her change the subject. Go on. She exhales, her shoulders dropping. Sometimes I think about people we know. Friends. Co-workers. It's not like I want to do anything with them, but the thoughts, they're there. My stomach knots, but I keep my face blank. Like Greg? Her cheeks flush. Not Greg, exactly. I mean maybe once or twice. But it's not just him. It's not about them. It's the idea. The idea. The word sits heavy, but I push past it. How long has this been going on? She tilts her head, thinking. A while. I don't know. Months, maybe? Months. I repeat, my voice low. Her gaze snaps to mine, defensive. It's not like I've done anything, Mike. They're just thoughts. I let the silence stretch, watching her shift under the weight of it. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I ask. She rubs her temples. Because I didn't know how. And I didn't want to hurt you. But I can't keep pretending these thoughts don't exist. I thought, if we talked about it, maybe it could help. Help. Another word that feels like a slap. And what, exactly, would help? I press. Opening things up so you can explore these thoughts? Is that what you're saying? Her mouth opens, then closes. She looks down at the table. I don't know, she says finally. Maybe. The recording picks up my sharp inhale, the scrape of my chair as I stand. I need space, I say, pacing the small kitchen. This isn't something you just explore. We've built 4 years together. You can't throw that away for what, exactly? Her voice trembles. I'm not throwing anything away. I love you. This isn't about not loving you. I turn to face her, the words tumbling out before I can stop them. It doesn't sound like love. It sounds like you're bored and looking for an excuse. Her face crumples, and for a second, I almost regret saying it. Almost. We go back and forth for the next hour. The conversation spirals. Questions, half-answers, long silences where the air feels too thick to breathe. She admits to imagining coworkers, mutual friends, even strangers at the gym. She insists it doesn't mean anything, that she hasn't acted on it. It's not about them, she keeps saying. It's about me. Eventually, I stop responding. I let her talk, the recorder catching every word. My questions become sharper, but my voice stays calm. I want her to keep going, to lay it all out. By the time the conversation ends, it's nearly 10 p.m. She's crying now, clutching at tissue. I'll stay at Jen's for a few days, she says, standing. I nod, unable to say anything else. My throat feels raw, like I've been screaming even though I haven't raised my voice once. The front door closes softly behind her, and the house falls silent. The next morning, she texts, asking when she can come by to pack. By the end of the week, her side of the closet is empty. The bathroom shelf, cleared. The living room looks strange without her things. Her parents' driveway is packed when I pull up with the last box. She stands by the door, waiting. There's a tiredness in her eyes I don't recognize, but I don't linger. Thanks, she says quietly, taking the box. I nod, my grip tightening on the steering wheel as I drive away. 2 days after Mary moved her things to her parents' house, I get a message on WhatsApp. It's from her mom. Hi, Mike. It starts innocently enough, followed by a flood of texts that make my stomach churn. We're heartbroken to hear about the breakup. Mary told us it was because she wanted to take the next step and you weren't ready. We've always thought so highly of you. This doesn't seem like you, Mike. I stare at the screen, jaw tightening. The next step? That's not how Mary framed it when she left. My thumb hovers over the keyboard, itching to respond, but I know I need to cool off first. Before I can decide what to say, her stepdad jumps in. Mike, we'd like to talk. We know relationships take work. Let's figure this out like adults. My frustration spikes. I set the phone down and pace the room, running through every possible response. They've clearly only heard her version of events, and from the sound of it, she's painted herself as the victim. By the evening, her mom calls. I hesitate but answer anyway. Hi, Mike. She begins, her tone warm but probing. We're trying to understand what went wrong. Mary's hurting. She says she wanted to move forward, and you pushed her away. Is that true? No, I say firmly. That's not what happened. Her voice softens, as if she's talking to a stubborn child. Then what happened? She didn't want to move forward. She wanted to open the relationship. I reply, my words clipped. There's a long silence, the kind that drips with disbelief. Finally, she speaks, each word careful. That doesn't sound like Mary. Well, it is, I snap. Her stepdad's voice cuts in, calm but patronizing. Mike, relationships are about compromise. Maybe this is something the two of you can work through. You've been together for years. Isn't that worth fighting for? Fighting for what? I say, my voice rising. She's been lying to me for months. Fantasizing about people we know. You think I should compromise on that? He doesn't miss a beat. You're young. Marriage is about weathering storms together. This might just be one of those storms. His condescension hits like a punch to the gut. This isn't a storm. I fire back. This is her rewriting the rules of our relationship without asking me. Her mom sighs heavily, the weight of it almost audible. We just want you both to be happy, Mike. Mary loves you. I let out a dry laugh. She has a funny way of showing it. The call ends, unresolved and simmering with tension. The next morning, I wake to another message from her mom. It's sharper this time, as if they'd decided I'm the problem. We're not trying to meddle, but this doesn't sound like the Mike we know. Please don't let pride ruin something special. Pride? That word sets my blood boiling. They think I ended this out of ego? I grab my phone, my thumb trembling over the screen. My mind races, debating whether to explain everything. But what's the point? They won't believe me. Not without proof. My eyes land on the voice recording. A solution messy, personal, but effective. I attach the file, typing out a simple message. This is the conversation that ended the relationship. Listen to it and tell me if you still feel the same. I hit send and toss the phone onto the couch, pacing as guilt and relief collide in my chest. For hours, there's nothing. No reply. Just silence. That evening, her mom responds, but it's far from the apology I expected. I don't know what to say. No follow-up. No acknowledgement of their misplaced accusations. Just 6 empty words. The next day, her stepdad sends a message of his own. It's carefully worded, measured, but still a gut punch. Mike, we've had time to process the recording. Sharing this was hurtful to Mary. We understand why you're upset, but this feels extreme. We need time to talk to Mary about this. I read it twice, then toss the phone onto the couch again. Even with the truth laid bare, they're treating this like I overreacted, like I should have handled it differently. The silence stretches for 2 days after that. No messages. No calls. Just the kind of quiet that feels louder than words. I sit in it, turning their reactions over in my head. It doesn't feel like closure, but maybe it's as close as I'll get. The silence stretches for 2 days, but it's anything but peaceful. My mind keeps circling back to the threads that brought Mary and me to this point. It's not like this was an ordinary breakup. Nothing about us ever fit into the ordinary category. Our families have always been close, which only makes this worse. Cookouts, holidays, even vacations, it was never just Mary and me. It was them too. They're probably sitting around their dining table now, hashing out strategies to bring us back together, like some kind of corporate crisis management team. But if they really want to know the truth, they'd have to go further than that recording. They'd have to wade into the mess we've both been carrying for years. But being open about who we are didn't mean we had an open relationship. That boundary was clear from the start, or so I thought. Mary always had this way of twisting things. Gaslighting, therapists call it. I didn't have a name for it at first. I only knew how small and confused I felt when she'd insist things didn't happen the way I remembered. "You're overreacting," she'd say, or, "That's not what I meant, and you know it." It got so bad at one point that I started therapy just to figure out if I was losing my grip on reality. That's where the recording came in. It wasn't about revenge or winning an argument, it was self-defense. Proof. Something tangible to hold onto in case she tried to rewrite the narrative again. Not that the recording exists in a vacuum. There's history there too, history I never wanted to revisit. When I was 17, I got tangled up in an inappropriate relationship with someone older. Someone I trusted. It's not a story I like telling, and Mary knew that. She also knew how it shaped me, how it made me hypervigilant about boundaries and control. At first, she seemed to get it. She said the right things, listened when I needed her to. But over time, she started using it against me, slipping it into arguments like a card up her sleeve. "You're so controlling because of what happened to you," she'd say. Or, "Not everyone's going to hurt you, Mike. You need to let go." Maybe that's why her request hit me so hard. It wasn't just about the idea of an open relationship. It was the way she presented it, so casual, like it wouldn't crack the foundation we'd spent years building. Like my history, my triggers didn't matter. And then there's our circle of friends. We're all connected in ways that feel claustrophobic now. Mutual friends, shared group chats, overlapping social plans. It's impossible to untangle without tearing everything apart. Mary's little jokes about sleeping with our friends. They weren't just words. They were seeds planted in the people we're supposed to trust. Therapy was supposed to help with all this. We started seeing someone about a year ago when the arguments got too frequent to ignore. Communication issues, they called it. But communication only works when both people are honest, and Mary wasn't. She'd nod along in sessions, agreeing to boundaries and strategies, only to disregard them later. Looking back, I wonder if she ever took it seriously. Or if she saw it as another performance, another opportunity to control the narrative. That's what hurts the most, I think, the realization that so much of what I thought was real might not have been. Every memory feels suspect now, every moment tainted by the possibility of manipulation. But that Mary is gone, if she ever existed at all. As I sit with my thoughts, the weight of everything settles over me like a heavy fog. The silence from her parents stretches on, and I realize they might never fully grasp the truth. Not because they're incapable, but because they don't want to. It's easier for them to believe in Mary's version of events, to cling to the image they've built of her. Let them have it, I think. I'm done trying to explain myself. The lunch feels more like a ceasefire than a meal. Mary's parents meet me at a small diner on the edge of town, neutral ground. They've come alone, no Mary in sight, which I take as a small mercy. Her mom, always polished, sits across from me with a tight smile. Her stepdad, graying and softer around the edges, looks tired but genuine in his concern. They open with apologies, not for Mary, but for the way they approached the situation. "We didn't have the full picture," her stepdad says, his voice low. "We shouldn't have jumped to conclusions." I nod. It's all I can manage. I want to say you didn't believe me or you thought I was the problem, but there's no point in dragging this out. What's done is done. The conversation drifts into awkward small talk for a while. I pick at my sandwich while her mom recounts some story about her garden, her voice strained but trying. Eventually, we circle back to the real reason we're here, an agreement to keep things civil but distant. "We'll respect your space," her mom says, folding her hands neatly on the table. "But we hope, in time, things won't be so tense." Tense is putting it lightly, but I let it slide. I thank them for reaching out and assure them there's no bad blood, even if that's not entirely true. When we part ways in the parking lot, her stepdad offers a firm handshake, and her mom squeezes my shoulder, her touch lingering like an apology she doesn't know how to verbalize. Later that evening, I get a notification: Mary's unblocked me. The message comes in quick, furious, biting. She accuses me of turning her parents against her, of trying to paint myself as the victim. The irony almost makes me laugh. She's the one who spun a story about taking the next step. But now that the truth is out, she's doubling down, scrambling to control the fallout. I don't respond. I've learned by now that engaging only feeds the fire. Instead, I mute her and sit back, staring at the ceiling of my apartment. Her parents' handling of everything is surprising. They haven't cut her off, but they're not enabling her either. From what I gather through mutual friends, they've taken a firm but compassionate approach, encouraging her to seek therapy and focus on self-reflection. There's no smear campaign, no dramatic declarations. It's a quiet, measured response that leaves me conflicted. Part of me wanted them to pick a side, to pick me. But this is better, healthier. In the days that follow, clarity starts creeping in, piece by piece. I've been here before, haven't I? Not with Mary specifically, but with people like her. People who push boundaries, rewrite narratives, make you question your own reality. It hits me like a wave. I've spent the last 4 years with another abusive partner. Not the loud, obvious kind, but the insidious kind. The kind that smiles while they cut you down, that twists your vulnerabilities into weapons. I think back to our first few months together. The way she seemed so understanding, so supportive. It felt like she saw all the jagged parts of me and accepted them without question. But now I wonder if that wasn't just her way of getting inside my defenses. It's a bitter pill to swallow, recognizing the patterns I swore I'd never fall into again. But there's something liberating about it too. This isn't just about Mary. It's about me, about the choices I've made and the boundaries I've ignored. For the first time in weeks, I feel something close to peace. Not the full, overwhelming kind, just a faint sense of relief, like I've taken the first step out of a long, dark tunnel.